So what happens is they start to see the things that create the environment for them to take action. So in their daily life, they'll be like, right, this stress means that I need to do something. Something's went wrong. So rather than being paralysed, let me face it and find out what it is that I need to do. So that might be something where they need to deal with an issue. They need to make the call. They need to reach out to someone. They need to arrange something. Maybe, it's like the weird thing about stress is like, imagine that your house was on fire and you got stressed, and the typical idea of stress is, I can't do anything. I'm helpless. I'm hopeless. You wouldn't sit and let your house burn. The stress response is, there's something wrong. Let me get my phone and call the fire brigade. And then be on alert, be on action to go and jump into what it is that you need to do. Now, if you took that same response, which is there is something happened, here is the response of stress, let me take that action, then you know that the thing that you need to do next is take that action. So an example would be like, for instance, in Kelly's book, she mentions the firefighters, and the firefighters were in these training examples where they were going into training high pressure situations, and they would feel their heart rate starting to rise. And one of the things that the firemen were doing was they would recognise that response of the heart rate going up, and they would say things, mantras in their mind like, I am ready, my body's responding because I am made for this. I'm made to save these lives. I'm a firefighter. I'm going to go and do what it takes. And these brave men going into burning buildings, and they're rescuing families. And that's what they're doing. They're taking, cats, dogs, animals, babies at burning buildings. And they're doing that not because they're held back by stress, but they're pushed by stress. Stress is there to give them that edge, to give them that response, to prime their body to take the action they need to save lives. Isn't that a powerful thing? And it's these sort of examples where you can apply them to anything. There's another example in the book where there was a student that was basically paralysed with the fear of tests. Like an exam would come up and they would just completely freeze. And what they were doing was, in the book, the example, what happened was they helped to explain how that student changed how they looked at it, because what was happening was, rather than saying this stress is going to hold you back or prevent you, this stress is getting you ready. This stress is making you feel that you're primed, that you're going to be more alert, more focused. Your brain's going to fire up. You're going to be ready. It's going to energize you. And the thing being is that one of the big things that happens in life is people mislabel emotions, because emotions can be very, very close. For instance, excitement can be very close to stress. Stress can be very close to anxiety. So you can feel these things and you actually are experiencing one thing and you've labelled it as another. And remember the point, your beliefs and your mindset about that belief will override actual facts. So you could be experiencing excitement, but you could really label that as stress. And if you have stress as a negative, and you think that stress is going to paralyse you and stress is bad, then what do? You put it off, you ignore it, you don't want to take action, and you feel let down. That's the power of not only labelling how you feel properly, because I was having a discussion before we came on air with Jill, and I was asking her about where you feel certain emotions and how you feel them. So I was doing some research yesterday, and the topic came up about different types of feelings and where you would feel them in your body and how you would feel them. And I thought I was pretty good at it until a couple of the prompts, and I thought, that's interesting. And that I think that I need to change my perception of that, because what I thought before I listened to this was actually different. I thought differently afterwards in a powerful and positive way. And it just shows you the nuance of being able to label these emotions that you feel properly, and to empower you, to give you that sense of power, to give you that sense of being able to take action, to give you that sense of positivity. So make sure you label your emotions properly and do the audit. Ask yourself, just because you felt a certain way, you've probably heard the word, you're worrying yourself sick, or I'm getting too stressed out. You've heard someone say that, and then you've taken that in as what you should do. But there is another side of this, because there is people out there that are using stress as a powerful and positive tool. So let's look at some of the research to see what's been covered off. One of the other stories that was in Kelly's book that I thought was really quite good was a story about a woman who was looking after her very ill husband. Her husband was really ill, and she's the caretaker now. So a tragic and obviously horrible situation for them to be in. And she was just exhausted with looking after him and the stress and just feeling overwhelmed. So she visited the support group, and then the support group had helped her change her perception on what was going on, because what they were saying was the fact you're exhausted and stressed out is just proof of how much you love your husband. So that love and care that you're giving him is so strong. That's why you feel this way, because you're prepared to do whatever it takes, and that's out of love. And it's like that switched that whole woman's thought process about it, because every time she felt exhausted, she now knew she was doing it out of love. Every time that she cared for her husband and she was doing these difficult tasks to help him, she knew that it came from a place that was powerful and positive, and that shifted, knowing that no matter how she felt, she could get through it because it was for a powerful and positive intent. And that's where you can really make a shift and change things in your life, because there's these things that, you know, you can look at and you can feel held back by, and a simple change of your perception of it and reframing it is going to make a massive difference.